Today, I forgot today was Labor Day when I set up the interview with you, and I wasn't thinking. I probably was looking at the wrong month, but I will say this. Ronald was also telling me that they're still building FEMA camps. Why would they still keep building FEMA camps when they have more than enough and they're empty right now, or are they? That why would they? I mean, something is coming down the road, and that's what. Young people have a tendency that, I hate to say it, people have a tendency, right? They don't panic till it hits. And then they go, oh my God, I should have done something about it. Just like what happened in Warsaw, during World War II, the Jews, right? They let what happened happen to them. I mean, if they would have. I'm sorry. I'm saying if they would have done something, right, the numbers would have outnumbered the guns where they could have, would have never happened. That's the same way here. Where sometimes I feel like we're like lambs being taken to the slaughter and nobody does anything till the slaughter starts.
I couldn't agree more with you. We are just the biggest bunch of pussies, and we didn't start like that. I mean, I think of all the greats like Patrick Henry and Benjamin Franklin, and I mean, all of these rebel rousers who they weren't afraid of nothing. They weren't taking any bull from anybody. And what have we become? I mean, it's embarrassing. We've become sheep. That's what's happened. Now, can you tell people where they can find your books and how they can find you and all that? I would love to. Okay, my name is Dina Rae, DINARAE, and I'm all over the internet. I have a Facebook fan page, Dina Rae Books. I have my own blog, which is Dina Rae's, DINARAES, Right Stuff, and that's spelled with a W, .blogspot.com. And then I have a Twitter at Halo of the Damned. And then, of course, you can find all of my books on Amazon for sure. Amazon. Just type in Dina Rae, and my author page comes up. All of my books come up. I'm on other book distribution sites as well, but all of my stuff is on Amazon. And then the rest of it's kind of piecemealed out at Barnes and Noble and Books A Million and iTunes, iBooks, and all of that. But all of it for sure is on Amazon. And my newest books are called The Bestseller and The Sequel, and they're both inspired by real conspiracy theories regarding Hitler, World War II, a lot about genetics with CRISPR technology and how that could be used against all of us as a society. Again, reptilians. If you like Ancient Aliens, as both of my books have been compared to, you'll really like my books. I have another one coming out soon. It should be finished in about 4 or 5 months. So I will definitely be promoting that on my Facebook fan page as well. So again, thank you so much for having me. And I love your show, and you're always such a wonderful host.
I try to be, but there's days I'm not. But, I would like to get you back on because I really would like to dedicate for an hour or two about like all the conspiracies and all went on about with how the Nazis came into power, how they, the technology actually, started developing like the Nazi bell. Was it real or not? I was also reading that, towards the very end of the war, the last few months of it, they actually were coming out with submarines that were so far advanced that were capable to, go around the whole world, without having to refuel. Yeah. It seems like, their technology was just crazy, so much more advanced than ours.
They were reportedly using anti-gravity propulsion, too. A lot of people died with the use of mercury in one of their secret weaponry camps in Poland. So that's kind of interesting that they know how deadly mercury was, yet they were using it anyway.
Well, I find that kind of strange you mentioned that. One of my guests, it was on maybe back about 4 months ago, when he was a little kid. Now, this is back in the Midwest or more towards, the south of this country. His father was a police dispatcher. His mother worked at the hospital. And the story is that all of a sudden, that they got, what they found was supposedly a UFO landed in the parking lot of the hospital. And before the police could get there, it had already took back off. And the asphalt, there was like a 30-foot or so ring in the asphalt, which melted down. Ooh. And it was still, burning, and there was like droplets of like mercury all around it, around the circle. And it was funny that he also said that before morning, and all the townspeople came in to look at it, and they were going, "Oh, wow, 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 wow!" So there was a lot of report, and I did verify all that. At least the story with the local police department at that time, before he came on my show, that they did have a reporting of that. The funny thing is, by morning, the parking lot was repaved, re-asphalted in the middle of the night. The police department didn't know anything, supposedly, how it got done, but somehow, overnight, it got repaved, which was kind of strange. But then, the next day, about 90 miles away, there was a lake in the little community where a whole bunch of witnesses saw a UFO coming out of the lake.
Oh, I was this in Texas?
No, it was not in Texas. But the guy also wrote a book about UFO. It hit a water tower in Texas back in the 1890s, I believe.
Huh.
Man, the Aurora project, Aurora.
Huh.
Aurora incident, I'm sorry. That's where in the 1890s, supposedly a UFO crashed in the little community of Aurora.
Oh, geez. I think I've seen that on one of those UFO files or one of those reality UFO shows, like they do them like kind of like a documentary.
Oh yeah. Well, it makes you wonder. I know how fast the government can work. So maybe if they did have a landing. Again, I actually talked to a scientist about this, and he said that because of the heat coming into our atmosphere, that the UFOs, his philosophy is that they overheat. So that's why there's reports of like UFOs coming out of the ocean, coming out of lakes and stuff like that, is that they go in there to cool back off. And, maybe this one came down and had to, land for a minute or whatever it did, and it took off, and it could have been the same one. It was like 90 miles later, in that lake coming out the next morning, being seen. But, again, it was like the mercury droplets. It was like all around, the circle. So it just makes you wonder. And another scientist told me that it's used in their propulsion system. So I don't know.
Yeah, there's something with the mercury that for whatever reason it can somehow, get things off the ground. I'm not a physicist or anything, but it in my research, it comes up over and over and over again. And beryllium's another one, thorium's another one. There's something in that gives things a kick and can, just make them take off like that. I don't know.
It's strange. I have a host who's Michael W. Hall. He has a Saturday show for 3 hours on my network, and he is we call him a paranormal lawyer. He is a lawyer in the state of Washington. He's also was a judge, a pro tem judge at one point, but he runs a group called the UFOI team. And at one of their meetings back here, maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago, They were having one of their meetings at a Denny with their group of people. And this guy, older guy, comes walking up to him and asking for, Michael W. Hall. And he had a big white envelope. And Michael told me that he was worried that, being an attorney, somebody coming with a white envelope, he was going to be sued, served. Well, the guy didn't give his name or anything. He kind of like handed it to him and kind of like, moseyed off real fast. He opened up the envelope, and it was supposed to be how a UFO propels itself. And it was a whole bunch of diagrams, schematics, and everything, how a UFO propels itself. And again, it talks about how it uses mercury at a high speed inside of whatever it does. But he let one of his couple of people look at it who were engineers at Boeing's, and they were kind of in shock of, why would this guy hand him this type of information?
Hoping maybe to get it on the radio, or?
Well, it was interesting. I mean, I got to get a hold of Michael and find out what more, because he sent it out to be, analyzed. But I mean,
yeah,
I think it's
weird.
I think things are going to slowly hit the fan.
I agree.
Well, anyway,
I agree.
Anyway, I would like to invite you back on in the next month or so, if you'd like to, and we could talk about, the Nazi belt and all the conspiracies about, the Nazi space, what they were trying to do, the rockets and all that stuff, the jets, everything, even the atomic bomb that they were working on till we destroyed it. They were so much more advanced than we were, and I just can't believe how a country, especially starving financially and man-wise towards the end of the war, was able to keep cranking out. I mean, if they would have cranked that stuff out like a year sooner, I don't think they would have lost the war.
Yeah, and if Hitler didn't go completely bonkers, they might have had a good chance too. They did have some setbacks, to say the least, but they technically should have won just based on the weaponry that they created. I couldn't agree more. But I would love to come back. I would love to come back anytime. I love your show. You guys are great over at Paranormal, or I'm not Paranormal Lawyer. I'm sorry, Night Dreams.
Yeah. Well,
I've listened to Paranormal Lawyer before too. It's a good show.
Yeah, he's good. That's why I asked him. I said, "Hey, Michael, would you like to do a show on my network?" And he jumped on it, and he's getting a big listenership on it too. I mean, we're growing. I remember seriously when I first started this out. I never even thought about getting back in radio, to be honest with you. I was retired. The only thing I was doing is riding my Harley. I was kind of getting bored. And one of my friends I've known for many years, I was in broadcasting off and on since 1976. That's when I did my first talk show, was in 76. And one day he called me out of the blue and he goes, "Are you going to ride your motorcycle here again and be crazy?" And I said, "I don't know. My health, I don't think I can ride it this year that far. It killed me last year." I told Art Bell that. And he goes, "You know what?" He goes, "I'm retired now, but you know what? You're just like me. You got a big mouth. Why don't you use it? Get back on the air." And I go, "I don't know. I don't want to go back on radio." And he goes, "No, get on the internet and do a show." And he helped me. He told me what type of equipment to buy and all that stuff. And it was hard. The first 6 months, I'll be honest with you, even when I had you on before, I've been out of radio for 10 years, so it was hard to get back in the swing, talking and being myself. I was scared, getting behind the microphone and talking to people. I didn't even know what type of questions to, ask and I had a lot of mystics on, believe it or not, which was good, but which was bad. But, I remember when I first got on, I was really depressed. I had like 5 people. And then it grew up to 15. And then it got into a couple hundred. Then it got into the thousands. Now lately, when I go through and check off our server on all the different apps, we're on probably 50 to 60 different apps out there. I'm averaging between 160 and 173,000 hits per show.
You've got a good message. You've got a theme. You've got a message. And you're speaking the truth, and people are sick of watching the that fake stuff they